Hello, welcome to the Brainscapers with Brooks and Roots. I'm Roots. Today we're at a landscape in southwestern Ohio, and we want to talk about persimmons. We're going to talk about native and also some of the cultivars. This is a cultivar. This is what they call a meter persimmon. It was named after the founder or the man that created it, Elwin Meter, in the 1970s or so, who was a hybridizer of fruit trees, probably other things as well. But so with the meter persimmon, what that means is a cultivar is something that is hybridized because of its resistance to disease, bigger fruit, like what you're seeing here, fruit flavor, all sorts of different things go into play with that make it a better variety than what the native one that they started with. With the meter persimmon, that is a plant that has both male and female flowers on the same tree. The native persimmon, you either have a male persimmon or a female. So the meter produces the same type of flowers that the native one does. They're kind of a waxy bell-shaped flower. However, this one will produce the male flowers, which will produce the pollen, and the females, which will produce the nectar, and then ultimately the fruit. What's interesting with this fruit is these are persimmons from the native persimmon, and then the hybridized ones, these fruits are at least twice the size. Flavor-wise, they're comparable, but these are super ripe. The native one right now is not quite ripe, at least the ones that I've found. The benefit from this is that the single tree will flower and also produce fruit. So with this, the native persimmon will get approximately 50, 60 feet tall and about a foot or so in diameter. What that translates to, if you think of other trees that are 50 to 60 feet tall, usually the circumference of the trunk is much larger for the same height of the tree. Persimmons are in the ebony family, so native persimmon is the northernmost variety of the tropical ebony tree. With the native tree, the wood itself, just like an ebony, is extremely hard and dense. So it's used for handles, all sorts of different implements that would require something where the wood would not splinter and break. This cultivar is a beautiful ornamental for this home, for this yard, and it also produces a ton of fruit that is used for, in their case, grape jam making. Our First Nation people, or also known as Native Americans, used the fruit, the pulp. They didn't make jam with it necessarily, but they made a food called pemmican, it's kind of like the predecessor to what we would call our protein bar. Pemmican was made with taking the fruit of the persimmon and taking the seeds out and mashing it all up. It tastes a lot like apricot to me. And then they would mix dried seeds, nuts, berries, dried meat, everything that they could put in and basically make a cake or a bar with it. So it is very similar to what we eat now as our granola bar or our protein bars. There are other cultivars of persimmon, like the Oriental version, which is where persimmons came from originally, the yaki. And if you go to a local grocery store, you're going to see persimmons that are like the size of large baseballs. Same flavor, very sweet flavor, can be used fresh or made into jams. There are other cultivars where you can actually get the fruit if you don't have one of these in your yard, or you're also not astute at going in the woods and looking for what a persimmon tree looks like. You can go to your local grocery store and get some of the varieties like yaki fruit that is a persimmon, same calyx. You'll see the exact same look and style, but the fruits are like the size of a small baseball. Tastes the same, very flavorful, apricot-like. So if you don't have access to a wild one or have one in your yard, you can still experience them. The other thing that persimmons are great for, of course, is our natural wildlife. They not only provide pollen and nectar for honeybees in the springtime, but also a few yellow jackets that are finding the ones around my feet. That actually kind of tickles. No, wait a minute. Okay, stop, guy. Persimmons are an important food source from spring through fall. In the spring, they provide pollen and nectar for the honeybees and other pollinators. And then in the fall and winter, they provide a valuable food source for all of our local wildlife. from possums, raccoons, squirrels, deer, turkeys. Everything loves persimmon. Another point I want to talk about is the wild persimmon. So typically when I'm hiking in the woods, I'll find a solitary persimmon, and they're very easy to spot because the bark of a mature persimmon is very dark and large blocky scales. It's been likened to the looks of like what an alligator back would look like. And so, and it also resembles to me what a dogwood looks like, what a smaller, with the smaller scales, but the persimmons are the much larger, blockier. So that's a really good way to kind of tell what, if you're spotting them out. You do find them occasionally in small clusters growing in the woods, but for the most part, I usually see like one here, one way over there. They're not very plentiful in our woodlands, but it's a real treat to be able to find them. So again, thank you for joining Brooks and Roots today with the Brainscapers. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And let us know if you have some other topics you'd like us to talk about. This was one that came up, and it's a great one. Thank you again. Have a great day.